this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. There's an old expression, never volunteer. But with orchid societies, if people didn't volunteer, then nothing would happen, would it? And the guy who does our magazine and produces our flyers, our membership cards, our members handbook, all the stuff to do with printing and, you know, things like that, is standing down. And obviously to produce a magazine, you know, and it's a pretty high quality magazine, some IT skills are required. And looking round the room at the blank faces when this was announced, I thought we could lose our magazine here if we're not careful. And, you know, I mean, I've spent 30 years in IT, and I thought, well, if somebody doesn't volunteer for this, we lose a service. So I'm going to give that a go. I won't say reluctantly, because I mean, I've had a play with some desktop publishing software before, and it turns out the software I played around with happens to be the software the guy uses. So stepping into it shouldn't be too big a challenge, if you see what I mean. I mean, I can normally hack my way around any software and get it to work most of the time. Like when I got the software I use for my videos, well, when I got it, I didn't know how it worked or how to turn it on even, you know. But YouTube came to the rescue, and the particular software I use, Power Director, there are umpteen videos on YouTube showing you how to do things. So there's never any need to struggle in the dark with something, you know. And there are lots of videos about that desktop publishing software, tricks, you know, quick ways of doing things, save struggling and stuff like that. But I mean, this is what we're talking about. We're talking about a pretty high quality magazine here. You know, it's actually produced, it's on glossy paper, it always has some good pictures in. The editor, that'll be me, has to write a page or a section. So I mean, it's a pretty high quality magazine, really. And the unfortunate thing is that some people still live in the dark ages. If you are capable of receiving your copy via an attachment on an email, then that's what you get. It's up to you what you do with it. You can just read it on your computer or desktop or whatever, or you can print it off yourself. You do it as you please. But some of these people living in the dark ages have to have a printed copy. Therein lies the problem. But basically the society owns a laser printer which comes with the job. So and that has to be maintained as well. So I've got to learn all the bits on the laser printer that can go wrong, or levels that need topping up and that sort of stuff. So anyway, a new job for me, not now. That's the latest issue that's just come out. And the next publication will follow our 60th anniversary show, which is in March next year. That's a 2-day event at, well, it's quite a prestigious venue as well. It's Highcliffe Castle, which was once a monastery, I believe, and has been brought back from a ruin, basically. There is a meeting Saturday morning to discuss, you know, the venue and stuff, presumably with the owners and that sort of thing, which I've volunteered to go along to try and get some pictures, because I thought that might be nice to actually get some pictures in advance of the venue, you know, whet people's appetite and all that sort of stuff, and also make a nice video. This is the event for our spring show. As I said, it is a bit of a special show, 60th anniversary. You know, normally our show is of an afternoon, well, like the one coming up at the end of this month. That's our autumn show, and it's a one-day event, but the public just get to come in from 12 o'clock till about 4:30, so it's like a half a day, whereas this 60th anniversary is a 2-day event. So it's quite a big deal. Lots of orchid societies have been invited along. There'll be quite a few traders there. You know, we're hoping to put on a big deal. So should be good. Yeah, plenty of opportunities for videos there. Yeah. Anyway, so I got a new job. I'm going to go and see the guy at his house. That will give me an opportunity, hopefully, to do a video of his growing areas. because I've already said, you know, if I'm coming to visit to pick up the disc for the software and take it home so that I can play with it and you know, have a look at the printer and, you know, go over the various tasks and things like that. I said it's compulsory that I have arboreal growing areas, which, with permission, obviously, I'll try and film. Now, he's the head of the Paphiopedilum Society, or the chair or something like that, but you know, big noise in the path world, and that's mainly what he grows, although he's got a smattering of other things. But he actually produces his own hybrids, you know, and does the seed and the flasking and all that sort of stuff, so it might make an interesting video. But as I said, it is always with permission if it's somebody else's place. I don't see he'll have a problem with it, but depends how much time he's got to spare. But we'll see how that goes. Now, I'm going to be a bit thin on videos this week because I've got an awful lot of things to do that are not to do with orchids. But at least I've got a car now and I'm mobile. Picked that up yesterday and did all the paperwork and everything, so I'm now an owner of a vehicle that works at long last. That saga's behind me, and somebody's bound to ask. It's a Seat Leon, which is well, I always call it a poor man's Golf because there's an awful lot of VW in it, although it isn't a VW obviously, but it's a little one. It's a little 1.4 Sport, so it's a nippy little number, but you know, it's far more fuel efficient. The cost of the tax has gone down, insurance will go down, and I'll get a lot more miles per the gallon. I don't need a big flashy car anymore. I only nip around, and the odd long run that I do, you know, I mean, the car's actually got Ricardo racing seats in it, so it's incredibly comfortable. But I'll just have to remember that I haven't got the power that I used to have, you know, like trying to overtake things on hills and stuff like that. I might have to give that a miss. It certainly won't have the power of a 2-litre turbo, that's for sure. But I don't need that anymore. You know, I don't do loads of long journeys and stuff like that, so it'll be fine. Out here today I've got lots of watering to do. I'm behind again and I need to catch up. I think some of what I think I'm behind on, I'm not. I just didn't update my notes. So I think I've actually done some watering out here and didn't update the notes. And as soon as that happens, I lose track. And I think, you know, I have to start looking at individual pots and thinking, you know, well, that is actually dry, so it can't have been watered recently. Anyway, I crack on with that. And yeah, I've got some trips out today. You know, I've got some paperwork to do with the car to go and post off, and I've got to go to the bank and various things, so you know, I have to crack on with things. But yeah, a new job for me, you know, using desktop publishing software and producing a magazine. The idea is that people send in articles, hopefully with some pictures and stuff like that, you know, and they've got to be edited into the magazine format, spell checked, all that sort of stuff. It's funny, when I worked in IT, I used to produce an awful lot of documentation, and I realised really quickly you can't proofread your own stuff. You keep missing bits. That's why you made the mistake in the first place, if you see what I mean. But I was always incredibly good at proofreading other people's stuff. So we'll see how that goes. But the magazine always gets submitted to the committee before it's published to get a sort of approval, that sort of stuff. So yeah, a new task to look forward to. I don't think it's going to take up huge amounts of my time once I get my head around the software. And you know, if I can have examples of the magazine in production, if you see what I mean, to see how things are slotted into the columns and photos are made to fit, well, I could probably work it out for myself, but to see it done will take an awful lot of the learning curve away. I mean, I'm normally pretty good with software at hacking it and getting it to work, but you know, if somebody can show you what they do to produce a specific item, all the other bells and whistles in the software I don't really need to know about. These are the bits you need to use, this is how you do it, and this is how it ends up. That'll do, that'll get me going. And I can always have a tweak here and there if I think I can make things easier. So yeah, new job. There's nothing much going on out here today. The Miltonia Sunset's lost 2 of its spikes, and I haven't turned the plant round yet because the little spike at the back's now buried. One thing I will show you, if I can get to it, this big plant here is, if I can remember, I think it's Dendrobium chrysotoxum. It was a giant of a plant, and I split it, and I put the older part of the plant at the back, and it looks like it's growing a giant kiki off of that cane, which is a bit of a nuisance. I'd prefer some growth at the base, but at least it shows it's alive. Because there's, you know, it's down to 2 leaves and bare canes, so maybe that one is going to grow on. But this is the main plant. This is the one that's probably going to bloom in several places where these bulges are, the spikes come out from. But that'll be in the spring. So, but yeah, that bit's doing well. And apart from that, there really isn't much going on out here. It's just that time of year. You have to bear in mind I do have a large percentage of dendrobiums, most of which are late winter, early spring bloomers. So they're just doing green stuff at the moment, and I'm pleased that in the main they're doing it quite well. You know, that's good stuff. Same with all the cattleyas, loads of new growths. Sheath's coming now, so as we head, well, that one's got a bulge in it, jolly good. Yeah, there's several cattleyas look like they're going to bloom, but you know, they're a way off yet, you know, so there's stuff to come. I don't know whether, because I've put my Tolumnias over there now, I can't actually see them until I get them down to water, which is a bit of a nuisance, but there was a good reason, because I used to have a lot of plants on this rack, and they're in full force of that fan. You know, it's less than a metre away, and it's like instant drying. You know, so as fast as I water them, the flipping things are dry. So I've turned their backs to the fan so that the front where the moss is, you know, stays wet longer, but they still get some airflow. So that's what I did, and to do that, the Tolumnias had to move over there. And at the moment, they've got their back to us. I think there's 2 spikes at the moment. If I can find, here we go, there's this one. Is this open yet? I don't think so. That's not far off. So we've got this little one here has got buds on, and those are about to open. Yeah, so within probably 2 days we should have at least one of those open, and the other one that's pushing a spike out. Yeah, this is a larger plant, so this will have a much longer spike. It's not even forming buds yet, but at least it's got a spike. I don't remember seeing any signs of any others on the Tolumnias, but there's those to come. There's nothing going on with all the little ones over here apart from this lovely little Latoria one, but we've seen that. You know, again, you know, early spring bloomers in the main along here, non-bloomer up here, cuff, non-bloomer here, cuff, although I still think that's a young plant. But this is a miniature, that is a mature plant. Now come on, I mean, it's still chucking out loads of new growths. Well, maybe someday something will actually bloom on that. Now that comes, that's Sycamense, Bulbophyllum Sycamense. That actually comes from northeast India. And in the main, certainly with the dendrobiums that come from that area, and this gets its name from a range of hills, the Sikkim Hills, I believe, and they are subject to winter rest in the main, plants from that area, so that could be that needs to dry off in the winter and it might trigger the blooms. It's mainly deciduous forests up in that area. There's some montane forests as well. It's a mixture, but yeah, maybe when that cools down a little bit in the winter, if I keep it on the drier side, maybe that will trigger the flipping blooms. Come on, slow coach. Yeah, I mean, apart from that, there's not much going on. There really isn't. Still, that's life, that's how it is. The 3 Vandas have all got spikes. Well, you see one of them obviously up there. The one on the middle one, which is the large white one with the grey tessellations, the spikes... Oh, I can't get at it. It's down in... It's down in there? Or is it down in there? Oh, there it is. Yeah, so that spike's just peeking out. And the spike on the orange one is just peeking out as well. So all 3 Vandas will bloom down the line. So we've got those to look forward to, but I must get those kikis sorted out. These canes these are kikis, obviously. They're starting to develop their bulbous nodes. I think that's Findlayanum, is it? Or Friedrichsianum? Findlayanum. I got so many kikis on the go, I've had to put labels on them. You can't forget what this one is. I mean, in my collection, those bulb shapes, cane shapes are unique. So I'd never forget what that one is. But these canes on these kikis are now larger than some of the canes you'd get on a plant for sale, and yet they're still kikis. You know, so in theory, these are only probably 2 years off blooming, maybe even 1. It is remotely possible these could bloom in the spring, given the right conditions. But it's more likely to be the following spring. You know, but as kikis, coming round to blooming that quickly is not bad at all. I mean, these got left on the plant quite a while to grow on, so we'll have to get those sorted out, and plants for other people. Yeah, so stuff to do, things to think about, and I'll see you next time. So there's not a lot of orchid stuff going on, but that's just how it is at the moment. I mean, this is looking gorgeous. It's Oncidium verrucosum, it was once. I mean, it's probably one of my favourite Oncidium blooms of all. Virtually no fragrance though, you just have to enjoy the colours on that one, and they are glowing, bright, vibrant colours. I mean, the top of that plant is almost black, it's the deepest sort of plum colour, and even that's just got frilly edges round, just that touch of gold round the edges. And then that lovely big bright yellow lip. It really is a stunning bloom. It's gorgeous. So anyway, I will waffling on long enough, and I've got stuff to do. So I'll see you next time. As I said, it's going to be a bit thin. Oh, and I'll let you know now as well, I'm on a break next week, having a little trip. So from about Wednesday onwards into the following week, there won't be any videos from me. I'll be away from my computer, I won't be able to produce them. But I will be doing some filming while I'm away, you know, so I can put those together when I get back, which will probably be on the Tuesday, I would think, before I get round to doing stuff. So there'll be quite a long break with no videos, just to give you a warning shot. But there will be others to follow afterwards, obviously. And I'll do plenty of filming while I'm away, I'm sure. And yeah, we'll go from there. See you next time. Oh, and I've just realised I've shown you the magazine that goes with the other Orchid Society, but they produce a similar glossy magazine. The Bournemouth Orchid Society, which I'm going to take the job on for, the magazines are very similar. But the Bournemouth Orchid Society one, because I'm on email, I only get an electronic copy. I don't get a printed copy. But at Wessex, I do get. Everybody gets a printed copy at Wessex. These are nice to have. You know, they come out. I think it's either 3 or 4 times a year. People write articles about their orchids or visits to places, orchid related, that sort of stuff. Reports of shows that have been put on or attended. So these are nice to have, and quite honestly, I do like to hold it in my hand. Having an electronic copy is one thing, but you know, having it in your hand is quite nice. So, see you next time.